So would we offer up the 3 open positions so that we could kind of recoup some costs here?
Yeah,
And we would do that the first year.
I don't have a problem with that. I won't do it. Yeah, because I know, because I know some of the other districts are looking for spaces.
So we could, and how much would we charge for each student?
We charge at cost. We do if we follow some of the other, we charge at cost for whatever the individual or the teacher TAs would cost. So their salary and benefits estimated here, so whatever the actual would be, would throw that down, and we have usually a 5% admin fee of us just taking care of that Dr. Gax's time, my time to bill those people and stuff. So that's usually the only added factor is a 5% admin fee.
So we get to set
Otherwise,
our
it's-
own costs.
Per student?
It is at the cost of whatever the teacher would be. So if the teacher's at a B1 rate, they're going to be there. If they're at a master's 15 years, they're going to be a different rate. So it just depends on what the skill level of the teacher we hire. The teaching assistants will be a flat, they are at their entry
They're part of the
level.
support staff.
Is there a law that dictates what we can and cannot charge other districts for it, or does the district get to set our own price?
So, for example, Bermudian, right now, Bermudian, Fairfield, Upper Adams, they have their, because they've been doing this for several years, they have their classes. So they have their own costs. And that's usually what we follow as a county. Pretty, because we've been sharing kids, so we try to keep our costs similar to each other, to support each other.
I would say the philosophy is they're charging us at cost. Why would we do an upcharge and then they upcharge us for us to upcharge each other?
And you're telling me they're charging you 20,000? Because that's what you said you budgeted.
We said Spring Grove was 30, some of the Adams County charges 10. It depends on the classroom and the teacher and what they have agreed to extend to
But
us.
if we went over to the 30, they would be paying the 30. If we were going over to the 15,
Right.
we would be paying the 15.
So we
It's just-
estimate
it's-
that.
Yeah.
And
But
if we
so-
upcharge, they're gonna upcharge us.
So
But
you,
what I'm hearing you say is that the board and the district, we get to set the price for what we charge other districts to send students to us.
well, we're not going to do it.
Well, we're not,
Money.
yeah, don't.
We're not going to charge you money.
But I'm saying,
Yeah. Do it at
I'm
cost.
just trying to figure out, is there a law that dictates it, or does each district get to set their price?
They do get to set their price, and
It's
common
reasonable
practice,
there, right?
common practice is what because what's going to happen is a fellow business manager, so say we get a kid from Gettysburg, they're going to want a breakdown of what our costs entail. And I'm going to have to give them basically an itemized that says, here's what the teacher cost is, here's what the TA cost is, here's a flat admin fee. And they'll say yes or no, and they could fight us and say,
Or
we're not
shop
going to,
somewhere
we're not
else.
going to pay.
Well, it sounds like everybody else is full, but you said there's some districts that are still looking for spots then, so we could easily fill those other 3,
Possibly.
potentially,
2.
which would also offset. Oh yeah, 2, we're up to 6 now, I'm sorry, I keep
So
thinking
Might
of the
jump
5.
to 8 by
Typically, it's
September.
easier to have the classroom to bring
No, I get it.
children in
Right.
than to find a classroom to place the children. So we would be on the, I guess, the opposite side. We'd be able to receive some children here at the district, which is a lot easier because other districts are in somewhat the similar scenarios as looking for placements as kids get identified or come in and out of the district.
So we all agree that it's something we need to
You
do.
have to do.
We all
So-
agree that we can.
So we can
And
pause on the,
if we have the spot, we have other students from other districts come and use this classroom. But we do have money already in the budget, so it's not $275.
so the financing options will pause here.
Okay.
We'll circle back on that. So obviously, yes, we have a tax increase. We have, if the district or the FPS committee has the same option as above was fund balance. We have what we're going to go into next is the homestead farmstead. So there's a bunch of options.
Okay.
In particular, this is just, that's what I wanted to signal here is what this would cost as a tax increase. So we'll jump into homestead farmstead, which is different here, and then we'll circle back to get a recommendation from the committee on the autism classroom, either to proceed, to pause, or whatever. So the property tax relief, that comes in, gets certified, I forget, sometime in April by the county, and then it goes to the state, and then they issue out basically the bucket of money. It comes from gambling money that gets rerouted to homeowners as tax relief, so property tax relief, which we all know as Homestead Farmstead.
And you just got this information.
So
that's
May
right.
first, they
Okay.
issue that from the state. It tells us what the pot of money is,
Okay.
and then what our share of that pot of money is.
Right.
Then I have a formula and calculations that says, based off of the certified homes, which is the 4,410 homes, and the pot of money, some homes don't qualify because they can't get a refund, because their assessed value is lower than what would be mitigated. So that pot of money gets back in and recalculated until there's nothing left. So that comes out at a 0%. So every tax increase changes that because it does factor in your millage rate. So whatever we raise in our millage rate would factor that in, which is in the next slide. So $358.09 would be for 25-26. And you can see historically what we've had. So 21-22, prior to that, it was stagnant. That $896 was stagnant for a long time. And then starting 22-23, we saw significant, you can see significant increases to this property tax relief. And as far as I'm aware, this will continue to happen as long as the gambling revenue continues to grow.
One of the best observations I can see from this, Tom, is that we have an increase in the number of homes that are taking advantage of the Homestead Farmstead.
Correct. So this could be some Mayberry homes that are adding in. This could be people just buying lots and building homes. Some who didn't know they qualifying. So that's just kind of that conversation piece we always talk about. That if it's your primary residence, you qualify. It's essentially what it is. You just have to fill out the county.
Excuse me, can you guys please stop talking the whole time?
Who?
Both of you keep,
I'm not speaking
you're
at
both
all.
whispering to each other.
I didn't. I was not speaking. Please do not accuse me. I was listening to people clapping back there.
So
Thank you.
we'll jump to the next section of the property, or the homestead, farmstead. So I have in comparison what last year's was, so it was $310.95 per qualified home. This year, like I said, $358.09, and that caveat there is at 0%. So let's break it down. That's additional money back to the homeowner. So it's 0%, 1%, 2%. Those are just to show what it looks like per increase. And then if we take the average home, which we've always said was 280, turn 8,000, that equates to approximately 1.24. It's a little above it, but we don't normally go multiple digits beyond the 2 digits there. So it's 1.24 would be what a $280,000 home, what this homestead farmstead would alleviate would be if the district would raise 1.24%. It would essentially be a wash for that $280,000 home. If it's below the 280, they obviously get more money back, and if it's above, they would actually pay more money. That's kind of how that flows. And this is no exception. 70%, even though we saw growth in homes, it's still about 70% of our total tax base are qualified and will receive money back from the homestead farmstead. So I guess any questions on that, how that money comes in? I will say it is a net neutral for the district. So every dollar that the state gives us, we give back to the taxpayers. We do not keep any. If we do keep any, it has to go back into a pot for the next year, and the next year, and the next year, and you just keep putting it back in forward. So we can hold it. It's usually, if it is, it's less than $10 goes into the next one that was added in. So I just wanted to make that note. That's where I added it in here to this tax increase. So the 1.24 you can see is 4701, which is slightly less than what I said was at 47 and 16 cents. So that's why I added that marker in there to show where that would be placed in and the district does have the authority to go up to 5.2% this year. So we'll jump into this portion and we'll circle back to the autism. This is kind of the last discussion piece. So 24-25, this was approved last June for this current fiscal year. 25-26, this is the budget as of today without the technology and autism classroom in there. That's what if the board we would decide not to move forward with 0, and that's where the budget would sit as of today. One of the things was pending items was the healthcare. That did come back at the estimated 10%. We did lock that in, so that was no change in the budget, which is actually a good thing. They were originally signaling higher amounts, so have actually came down and met our budget threshold. So as the technology, these are just visuals to show if we would raise and add in the technology, which we already have. This is going to be the new expenditure, but we're still sitting at this revenue because we are attributing fund balance, which is not going to increase our revenue. So then we have to discuss about the autism classroom. If we add in the $275,000, it would be here, and then if we would add any tax increase, if we would do a 1-to-1, so 1.53, it would come here. And you can see the deficit kind of stays the same because we're only 1-to-1 matching what we've increased. And then if we would do both and do a tax increase here, and that's kind of visual. So you can see if you chose an expense without a revenue, it would default back to this as the baseline. So I guess with the information we have here between homestead, farmstead, that it's essentially a requirement here for, I should say essentially, it is a requirement to have this classroom because there's really no other option to educate these students coming in. What would be a financing option recommendation from the committee? Because I believe I heard that it's we're going to move forward. Okay, so what's the financing then? Now let's move forward. I believe, unless somebody must have corrected me, that it's not moving forward, at least from this committee level.
So what I hear you saying is you're asking the committee for a recommendation, but the one thing that's not listed there is the pool from general fund.
Yeah, so with the
Yeah.
conversation piece was we could take it for this year and say we're going to take the 275 out of fund balance, and we'll revisit it again next year and keep going, because it is going to be recurring. So we're going to have to keep revisiting until we have a solution that says, okay, we can absorb it in, through other means, we can do something. So that's something that we can wait and see method. We can say we want to be proactive, we want to raise the taxes to meet this classroom, and it'll essentially follow that through its this classroom throughout the district. Or we can say we want to match homestead, farmstead. We could do a mixture of anything from 0 to 5.2% essentially.
Here's my issue, and you know what I'm gonna say. We have a history of doing deep deficits, having surpluses. We just had 3.7 million. We know the money's there. We can almost guarantee when we do this audit, there's gonna be a surplus. We can get potentially 2 students from other school districts come in and help offset some of that. Well, you say 275, but we already have something in the budget for it. And I think we should see how it goes for the first year and go from there, because, you know, to continue to raise taxes when we know we always have a surplus, I just don't think it's right. That's me.
So I guess from my standpoint, I mean, I hear this year, I say for, obviously, this budget season's coming somewhat to a close, so even subsequent budget season. So I guess is the understanding that as long as there's a surplus, are we waiting until there's a time that we are in a deficit, a true deficit, to then signal a tax raise forward?
But we have so many things that, the houses are being built, we're gonna sell the middle school.
But
I mean,
don't count on what hasn't been done.
I'm
I'm telling
just-
you, the
I'm just-
economy is
I always
tanking
do
right
it.
now.
I know, he's saying,
We're not gonna sell
but he's
all our
saying
houses.
that this is definitely gonna happen.
I make 3 to 5 year models. I just need to know where the board's at to
You
continue to make models, where the headspace is. The prior boards were always, we want slow, steady increases to meet the needs and the growth of the district. If this
But then we
committee
ended
board,
up with $3.7 million surplus that we had to use.
I would say that is circumstantial about what happened in that time frame. We got extraordinarily high revenues that nobody could predict. All districts saw an unreasonably slow surplus because of the federal funding we got.
And let me,
Supplement.
I'm for 0, honestly. I think we gotta pull money from other places, like from the fields and other places, rather than
Which we
raising
haven't
taxes.
agreed on how much we're gonna spend on that yet.
Well, we shouldn't be
anyway.
spending anything on the field. I think we need to wait and use money for what we need, like the autism, because
Oh, we're
all
gonna,
the indications are the economy is tanking. All indications. We've got layoffs from multiple companies.
But-
We have the tariffs that are making prices go higher. We have things that are going in the wrong direction. So for the first time in my 7 years, you know, I'd like to see, you know, a 0 baseline, because I think we're gonna get hit hard this year.
but I also think,
And we should save money
And-
rather than try
Right.
to spend money on things we don't need right away.
and
That's
to
all.
agree with you there, I mean, if we looked at the maintenance records of the HVAC, do we really need to replace it right now? Are we even working on it? Maybe that's another thing we save money on, instead of spending that $3.7 million surplus. because that's just, I mean, are we even repairing it, or is it functioning perfectly? I understand it's 20 years old,
So I would say that
but we
the
should at least
different-
look.
So we do repairs every year on, that's a
much?
routine maintenance.
All right, routine maintenance, not a repair.
That, if, that is a
Okay.
repair.
Yeah, could we talk about that later, because right now we
Oh,
have on
we're
the
just
table.
talking about.
Yeah, yeah, but we have on the table how to fund the autistic support
Yeah.
class.
Right.
okay.
So,
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
and also, the other reason we're pushing for the HVAC unit is because we were fortunate to get a grant from the state. That's,
Will that disappear?
it's a use it or lose it.
But
Use it or lose it.
that doesn't mean we have to use it on HVAC.
Yes, it does, because we submitted the grant
Oh,
with
yeah,
that.
that was your fault then.
That was the criteria for the grant that we needed.
Nice try.
Nick, you want to say something?
Yeah, I would say that we have it in the fund balance that in the worst case scenario, we could absorb that additional autistic support. I believe that once we get through the audit of last year's budget, it was a $1.3 million deficit budgeted, and we're gonna see another surplus. So I would say that we have the fund balance there, to cover what we need to cover, so it's the fund balance, and then we'll see where we leave.
And also, you offer the other two positions up and fill them that way, and, you know,
I believe that'd
I'll
be
pay
quite
for it.
attractive in a county where we see an increased number of identified students.
right.
Okay,
And in future years, we could have 2, and we can bring in 6. I mean, we,
So we'll
It's
see,
there
we'll
to
see on
use.
the Mayo board agenda, both the iPad cycle and the anticipated autism classroom with a teacher and 2 aides. I'm not sure if we'll have a job description or not that would signal that, or if it's just a line item that they're pushing for. Dr. Gadsden, we'll have a job description that'll signal that, and we'll have some brief discussion, I guess, as a full board to make sure they understand what they're discussing and voting on, since it's here at committee. So just to wrap this up here is the change orders. We had some minor change orders. This number 38 was the one on the last board agenda that was, I believe was the last one that was approved, was the weight room that needed board approval. We're sitting at about 37% for the year for the total project, so as of right now, I think Gil's still in that, we're in that good standpoint for where he
Yeah,
thinks as a
yeah.
ticker.
Victor, Gill, and I sat down with our LPS to take a look at the total percentage of change orders, and we're currently below what even was anticipated at this point. That doesn't mean we'll stay below what was anticipated, because we are in that the old section that's going to have more change orders, but we're in a good spot.
So we will see the proposed budget that includes the iPads and the classroom on the agenda to be approved. It will reflect a 0% tax increase. That does need to be approved by law and then have to sit to then be finally approved in June. Something else is we did receive transportation RFPs back today. We had 2 that submitted responses. Laura and I briefly met, but we did not have any in-depth analysis at all. We're hoping to have something at least by the end of the week. If we can't make it, it may be on for the voting session based on our results of that. So I just want to let them know they were due today at 12. We did receive 2, and we're going to review those the rest of the week, potentially have one for Monday for discussion and maybe potentially approval.
Is there any other thoughts, any other business?
Motion to adjourn.
Have a motion on the floor?
Kids are starting to walk already, you know?
Hey, is all of it allocated?
I'm pretty sure.
All of it? Can't use it.
Well, they've
Let me sign on the sheet.
approved